Well. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another fun-filled episode of The Final Word here with MattyB on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. Our final broadcast of our broadcast week, as we are going to have to put it into dry dock for tomorrow night because of the immense post-game obligations that I have starting tomorrow on the program, or on the network, not the program, but the network. I am doing double post-game duty tomorrow, so there will be no final word tomorrow night. So this will be the final word of your week. So I'm glad you're here to your final stop in your Wednesday sports day. Again, as I said, I take that responsibility with a heavy privilege. So tonight is it Christmas Eve? Is it the day before the end of the last day of school? I mean, is there a lot of excitement coursing through the veins of people in the Delaware Valley as we are mere hours away from the start of the 2025 baseball season? The Phillies will begin things tomorrow in Washington against the Nationals. Mackenzie Gore versus Zach Wheeler, and the Phillies' quest for the World Series championship that has eluded them all these many years since 2008 is back on again. And, we're going to talk Phillies tonight. We're going to give a final tune-up. We did the final tune-up last night, but we're going to do another final tune-up. We're going to break some things down a little bit. We're going to break some more things down about the Phillies. I want to do some number comparisons from 2024 to 2023 or 2023 to 2024, and sort of hopefully set a tone for what 2025 might be, at least statistically speaking. We're also going to talk my personal top 5 Phillies games, or Phillies seasons, not games, seasons of all time. Yeah, I'm going to break down the list of my top 5 Phillies seasons of all time. We're going to talk some Flyers because something disturbing came out of Toronto last night after the Flyers lost 7-2? What did they lose by last night? 7-2 or something like that. And it was more disturbing than what you saw on the ice. So we're gonna talk some Flyers. We got our other night segment, and we got our card review of all those great things that we do. And of course, we're going to start it all off with your day in Philadelphia sports history. But before I do that, I'd be remiss to inform and notify everybody out there that this program is brought to you by the hardworking folks here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. That again, yesterday we made a very breaking news, very exciting announcement that we're adding the attacking third to our galaxy of stars starting next Thursday. We also talked about some of the revamping of the wraparound with Sal G. So we're making some announcements. We're shaking and we're moving here on the network. So just to remind everybody that the aforementioned attacking third is your one-stop shop for all your Union and MLS needs. If you are a Union fan and an MLS soccer fan, then you need look no further than this program here. It's beginning next Thursday night at 9 p.m. You can catch the attacking third with Pat Bernard and Steve Fuentes. And then starting next Wednesday at 6 in its brand new time and day slot, the wraparound with Sal G is going to return with a permanent special guest host, Pat Bernard. Pat Bernard is going to take over guest hosting duties of the wraparound show for the interim, as we kind of navigate through some waters here with Sal, find out what he wants to do going forward. But we are going to continue the wraparound with Sal G under the tutelage of Pat Bernard. So that starts next Wednesday at 6. And of course, the big thing on the network starting tomorrow is your Fighting's final coverage returns. Season 4. Myself and Sal G will kick it all off for you at 7 p.m. or right after the Phillies game tomorrow afternoon. We got a 4 o'clock first pitch down in D.C. Me and Sal will get you right after the game, as I will have the privilege of hosting my 4th straight opening day Fighting's Final. Of course, why wouldn't I have hosted 4 straight opening day Fighting's Final? It's my show. So I'm back at you tomorrow. And then on Saturday, Mike Lauro will have you on the call. And then on Sunday, me and Big Al Zafiri are going to wrap up your week on the Fighting's Final as we wrap up the first series, the first of many series that we'll have here on the final. Tomorrow it starts, man, and I'm going to get into all the symbolic nature of tomorrow and how special it means to me. But for you puckheads out there, we haven't forgotten you, and we won't ever, because I'm a puckhead. I will be with you tomorrow night. That's right. So if you do the math, the fuzzy, I'll be coming at you around 7 o'clock tomorrow with the Fighting's final. And then I'll be returning at some point around 10 o'clock tomorrow night with the Clear the Ice show. Yes, the first one I've had in about, I don't know, going on 2 months. This is the last time I did a Fighting's or a Clear the Ice program. There's a reason why I pulled out of that now. Mike came on and, give Mike some reps. So, but I'm back on Thursday to do some Clear the Ice. And boy, am I looking forward to that. Can't wait. Can't wait to sink my teeth into some Flyers. And then on Saturday, Sal will have you for the Sabres. And we will wrap things up with the Clear the Ice program on Monday with me and Mike doing the Predators game. So that's going to be your hockey, the end of the Clear the Ice for the rest of the season. But we'll be back over the summer, hopefully to talk about some exciting news in free agency and trades and draft as well. So the Flyers could find themselves in a top 5, top 3, top 2, top 1 potential draft positioning this season. Who knows? But we'll be talking about it this summer as we get ready for the 25-26 Flyer season and the season of Clear the Ice. So we'll be back next year in its entirety with Clear the Ice, but we're going to wrap things up for Flyers postgame on Monday and then focus solely on our postgame activities of the Phillies. So that's the big news here on the network. And of course, the other programs here, well, I mean, it's stops and ends with me. The Final Word with MattyB every Sunday through Thursday at 10 p.m., except for tomorrow. There will be no Final Word as I have double post-game duty. So I'm putting it into the Final Word for the week. And that's kind of how it's going to be throughout the baseball season. We'll sort of play it by ear, and I'll give announcements in advance. But when post-game duties sort of, if I have the post-game for a Phillies game on a Sunday through Thursday, more than likely I won't be doing the Final Word. And I more than likely, I won't be doing the Final Word. So just to kind of give you a little PSA there. So that's your near-term future here on the network. And let's get it going here. Strap it in, strap it on, strap it up. Put your hands and feet inside the car. Hands, feet, and legs. Hands, feet, and head. Sorry. Hands, feet, and head inside the car at all times. And let's roll. And Joe checks in. Joe, how are you today? Doing good, Joe. Good to see you once again. Let's get it rolling with your day in Philadelphia sports history. We go back to the ripe year of 19. Before I have to look at it, what was the date of it? 1991. I knew it was a 1 in it. I thought it was 81. But then I thought about the player who's involved, and I'm like, now it can't be 81. But I knew there was a 1, but it's 1991. It's a Sixers point. That's right. On this night, and I honestly, when I was reading this and researching this, I had forgot. I have no recollection of this, and I had to go searching for it through the archives, and I found it. And it was pretty. I don't know why I don't remember this moment, but in 91, Charles Barkley, who apparently was being heckled on this evening, and I'm sure he's been heckled many more times throughout his career. Sixers were in Jersey. And they were playing the Nets, and Barkley was getting heckled. So he turned around to confront the heckler, not verbally, but with his saliva. That's right. He hocked one out, trying to spit on a heckler. Instead of hitting the heckler, Charles Barkley struck an 8-year-old little girl in the crowd. He was fined and he was suspended by the NBA. And which I don't think had really much to do with the reason why the Sixers got rid of him a year later. But yeah, I forgot about I didn't forget about this thing. I don't remember it. So again, I had to go back and look it up. I was a senior in high school at this point, in 91. And I don't remember it, but I did find it. I was able to look through it, and yes, it's pretty disgusting. Obviously, Barkley wasn't trying to spit on an 8-year-old little girl, but he was trying to spit on a heckler. But he should be spitting on anybody. Leave the fans alone, man. Who cares what they say? But on this night back in 1991, Charles Barkley is suspended and fined by the National Basketball Association for spitting on an 8-year-old little girl in New Jersey as he was trying to confront a heckler and misaimed his spit and struck an 8-year-old little girl. So there you go. Sometimes they're informative, sometimes they're entertaining, and sometimes they're just kind of head shakers. Some of these your day in Philadelphia sports history moments. But there you have it. Charles Barkley spitting on an 8-year-old fan on this night in 81. All right, let's dig into the show. The title tonight is The Calm Before the Storm. And what I mean by that, and let's get into that a little bit right off the bat. There's 2 times throughout the sports calendar that the stars align, the tides come in and out at the same time, and all the great things in the world just sort of make sense. And that's in October and April. Now, in October, especially if the Phillies are in the playoffs, it's probably the most magical time of the sports calendar, when all 4 of your Philadelphia sports teams could be in action at the same time, right? There ain't nothing like it, especially when you factor in the NFL is kind of just getting cooking in October, and then you factor in playoff baseball, and then you factor in the season starting for the Sixers and the Flyers. There's nothing quite like October when all 4 majors are participating at the same time. April, you're not going to get all 4 because there's no way the Eagles are going to be playing in April, but there's an equal sort of chaotic time for April because you got the Philly season starting, which is a 162-game marathon. And then if things were right here in this town, which they are not, and we already know that, you'd have the Flyers and Sixers both ramping up for a playoff run. So you got the first leg of a journey, or second leg, I guess, if you consider the regular season being the first leg, but the second leg of a journey towards a championship about to start for basketball and hockey. And you got the baseball season kind of ramping up, and you got the seasons changing. Days are getting longer, warmer. You're moving into that great time of the year. So April and October, if you kind of factor them out, nothing like April and October exists anywhere else throughout the year. And tomorrow, and I know we're not quite in April yet, but tomorrow, the Phillies will start play of their 142nd professional season affiliated with Major League Baseball. In opening day play, I'm going to give you some facts here. In opening day play, all time, the Phillies are 63, 77, and 2. Yes, 2 ties. The Phillies have played to during opening day competition throughout their career, throughout their history. The first tie occurred back in 1923 against the Brooklyn Dodgers in Brooklyn. The game was halted because of darkness. And of course, this is before the dawn of the illumination of baseball games. The second one occurred in Philadelphia in 1924. Same reason, darkness against the Braves. So the Phillies went back-to-back 23 and 24 seasons and had to suspend their games or get a tie because of darkness. But tomorrow, there'll be no suspension of darkness because obviously we live in the 21st century now. But 63, 77, and 2 all time on opening day are the Fighting Phillies, as they will start their journey to hopefully World Series title number 3 in their 142nd season of play, which I still can't really get my head around, is that this team is so futile. 142 years of play as of tomorrow and only 2 world championships truly is mesmerizing and boggling and frustrating and brings up all kinds of pain. But every season, hope springs eternal, and at least for one day, every team in Major League Baseball has an equal shot at winning a World Series, and that day is tomorrow. And that is what probably makes tomorrow one of the most special days of the calendar year for me. And again, we're going to get into some of my opening day stuff as well. Speaking of the Phillies, I just got tickets and I get to go in the field. Oh, that's what I'm talking about, Joe. Outstanding, man. Give a shout out to It's a Wrap Sports, man. Just yell it out. Start yelling it around Citizen Bank Park. That's awesome. Congratulations, Joe. Going off on the field on the home opener against the Rockies on Monday. Outstanding. But anyway, tomorrow, and I put something up on Twitter a couple hours ago, and I asked the question, should the first 2 days of the opening day of Major League Baseball, typically, everything is pretty routine these days. We know the season starts on a Thursday and a Friday. Some teams begin play on Thursday, some begin on Friday. If you play Thursday, then you don't play Friday. If you're playing Friday, you're probably not playing Thursday. But in general, should the federal government make the opening days of the baseball season a holiday, a federal holiday? I know the conversation has been brought up before, and I know I don't know how serious some people think it should be, but I think it should, because It's our sport. This is America's pastime, baseball. And why would you not celebrate? Why would you not give every citizen an equal opportunity to celebrate that by allowing people to have the day off or days off? And it would be a 4-day weekend for people, man. It would be the bomb. It would be celebrate, and they could amp up all their opening day festivities. They could amp everything up. They can make it bigger, better, and brighter if that was the case. And people could come out in droves to the ballparks. They're going to come tomorrow anyway. They're going to come on Friday anyway. But why do we got to pretend to be sneaky about it? I'm sick. I can't come in today. Junior's not coming to school today because he's throwing up. Why do we got to keep going down this facade, right? Let's just make it a holiday. The first 2 days, the Thursday and the Friday, opening days of the season, make it a federal holiday. Let people go out and enjoy themselves. Now, I'm not saying that, you could retort back at me or hit me back with, well, why don't we just make every home team, when they open up their home schedule, the holiday? Nah, I ain't doing all that. It's too complicated. But just blanket it on opening days, that Thursday and that Friday, federal holiday, so that all can go out and potentially enjoy the national pastime and get maximum effort in that. So I say yes. I say you contact your congressmen, your representatives, people up in Washington, D.C., and lobby for a federal holiday to be given on the first 2 days of each baseball season. And I think it'd be a great American type thing because it's our national pastime. Why in the hell would we not want to celebrate it to our maximum capacity? So another PSA today by MattyB. First 2 days of baseball should be a national holiday or federal holiday. But it's not, so we got to do the best we can. And I'll be watching tomorrow, 4 o'clock start time in D.C., Phillies and Nationals. And it's all set in stone. We've talked about it. We know who your Philadelphia Phillies are going to be at least to start the season. And, there's a lot of back and forth about the type of season that the Phillies are going to have. There's a lot of talk about winning a lot of baseball games, but yet not following through in October. And I kind of have to agree with that. That looms, right? It looms like a specter over the Philly season. It's almost, and I know a lot of people, some people out there are like, well, I'm not even going to bother following baseball until after the All-Star break. I'm not going to bother following baseball until September. I'm not going to follow baseball until the playoffs start. I think those people are misguided. I honestly do, because going through the 162 grind, and it is, don't get it twisted. It's a grind, and it's a grind if you sit there and try to watch every game as a fan. It's even more a grind when you have an opportunity or have the responsibility of doing post-game shows like we do here on It's a Wrap. And personally, from my standpoint, I felt that firsthand in 2022 when I started the show, or not this show, but the Fightins Final, and did every single post-game by myself. And I don't just mean the 162 of the regular season, but the additional games up through Game 6 of the World Series. Now, in the playoffs, I had help, but I did a lot of baseball. I did all 162 by myself, and it's a grind. And it's a grind just watching it. It's a grind. A lot of things change. A lot of things transform as the season progresses. A lot of things, players come and go. Some players that start the season with the Phillies will not end it with the Phillies. That's just the way it is. Some players who don't start the season with the Phillies will end it with them. So, but that's the beautiful part about baseball, of how it develops throughout the season, is you get to see all these changes. You get to see the run. And I'm telling you, from a personal standpoint, the satisfaction that I got being able to do the 2022 World Series and knowing that I had done every single game up to that point. Now, of course, they didn't win the World Series, and that would have been probably, I never would have forgotten that moment, but they didn't. But it was still very satisfying to go through that whole thing and then be there at the end and kind of like, reap the reward of going through that grind. So the biggest thing that baseball fans, it's funny because when you talk baseball and you're talking 162, there's no sense of urgency in April. There isn't, and really, there's no such urgency in May. So it's getting a little bit tighter in June, but baseball fans are in a lot of ways the most relaxed fans on the earth because there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen before you can sit there and say, you know what, this ain't working out, or yeah, this is working out. It makes baseball fans the most patient, but the most annoying fans at the same time, because when you have a fan that is not as patient as some and starts getting concerned at certain points of the season, and I'll use me as the example. I will put me out there. I was probably one of the first people on the edge of Philly sports, and I know I was, to start rallying that there was a problem with the Phillies last season after London. And I mean right after London. Probably in the Baltimore series, which was 2 series after London, I started saying something's not right. Something's changed. Something doesn't feel right about this anymore. And the visceral venom that I received about, well, you got to be patient. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And it is a marathon. It is. But when it don't feel right, it don't feel right. And it didn't feel right with me after London for some reason. But all the hate I got, all the like, you know, you're fair weather, you're Debbie Downer, negadelphian, all that crap. But I was right. I was. But so there's that interesting little sub war going on between the sides of fandom in Phillies Nation throughout the season. There's the traditionalists who take it one game at a time, and that's the way it should be taken. And I agree, it should be taken that way. One game at a time, one series at a time. That's how you should view baseball, right? And then there's the other side that's, you know, I'm not saying they don't look at it like that, but they get a little bit more, I don't know, excited. I guess the proper word is they get a little bit more excited. I remember coming out of the first series last year against the Braves. They lost 2 out of 3. And the way they lost those first 2 games, they were blown out. Pitching was terrible. Hitting was terrible. And they got blown out 2 out of 3. And there was some concern I had coming out of that first series. Now, of course, they turned it around in a big way through the rest of the month of April and had a great start to the season. But I was concerned. And I wasn't ready to strike the boats and burn everything down. I'm just saying, you get off to a bad start, yeah, you start getting a little like, a little warm in here. You know, it's just human nature. But tomorrow, it all starts again. Tomorrow, it renews again. And tomorrow, the same conversations will start flowing again. The word RISP will once again become part of my everyday vocabulary. The bitching and moaning about the starting lineup will become, you know, second nature to me again. Being concerned that Rob Thompson can't manage his way out of a wet paper bag will definitely start dominating my thoughts. And I'm here to tell you, I would not want to have it any other way, because starting tomorrow, to me, one of the best days of the year. It all begins. We have sports just about every day. And that's the biggest thing about the baseball season that I love. We got games just about every day. Every day we got a game. Every day, for the most part, you can wake up and say, boom, I got a game. That's what we're talking about, man. There's something special about that, man. And it's a sports fan's paradise. It really is. And tomorrow it starts, and I could not be more excited about it. And I hope you are. And I hope you revel in it. And I hope you spend your opening day of baseball glued to your TV watching as much baseball as you possibly can, because it is a special day. So my buddy lives in California and schools are closed, so the kids can see, Joe? And that's great. And that's probably a local thing, but I want it federal. A federal holiday needs to be mandated for the first 2 days of the start of the baseball season. It is the national pastime, and it needs to be celebrated that way. Baseball question for you. Besides Citizens Bank Park, what's your favorite stadium to go and watch a game? It has to be PNC Park out in Pittsburgh or Camden Yards. And I'm going to do you one better, Joe, Coca-Cola Park up in Allentown. I love it up there. Have you ever been there? The home of the Iron Pigs? It is so rustic and old school. It's the bomb, man. But I'd say Major League would be Pittsburgh or Baltimore would be my top 3. And the bank is a great place to watch games. I mean, there's no bad seat in the bank. So unless you're sitting up on the 326 level up there along the third baseline, up there like by the fan, by Fanavision, like right eye level with it, that's kind of high. Yankee Stadium is terrible to watch baseball games in. Terrible. It's like sitting in a coliseum. All right. I've never been to Fenway. That's a bucket list thing. Fenway, Wrigley. I've never been to those two. I have to go before I die. I got to go to Fenway and Wrigley before I die. Never been to Citi Field. I hear is it Petco? They call it Petco Park still out in San Diego. I hear that's a pretty nice spot. Obviously, I've never been there, but I'd say personally, Camden Yards, Pittsburgh, and Coca-Cola Park up in Allentown. I'm telling you, man, if you have never been there, you got to go. You got to go. But I hope that answered your question there, Joe. What about you, Joe? What's your favorite spot to go to? What about everybody else out there? What's your favorite non-Citizen Bank ballpark to go to? I used to love going to games at the Vet. Baseball at the Vet was maybe it was the weather. It didn't seem as life or death at the Vet during baseball season. I don't know, man. It seemed like a different vibe. But yeah, that's what I like to do. So just to kind of finish my point about tomorrow and about how special it is, it just again, it's almost like it's Christmas Day. You wake up and you have the idea that it's baseball. It could be snowing outside your window tomorrow. It doesn't matter because it's the first day of baseball season, because you know it's going to get better before it gets worse. And it's just a beautiful transcendence of seasons and transcendence of life, a renewal of life. And obviously in spring, that's where it belongs. So opening day tomorrow, Phillies Nationals, 4 p.m. Be there, be square, and be here immediately following the end of the game, as we will break it down on the Fightins Final as we start our 4th season doing the Fightins Final. So keeping in lockstep with the Phillies, let's talk some MattyB's top 5 seasons. Yeah, I figured it was time for me to break this down. So these are the top 5 seasons that I've personally experienced as a Phillies fan, not top 5 Phillies seasons that have happened, because I can't tell you what it was like in 55 with the Wiz kids. I wasn't there. So, but I'm only going to tell you, and I can't tell you about the 70s either. I was there, but not the hell did I know what was going on, right? The first conscious memory of Phillies baseball I have is the 1980 World Series, right? That's the first conscious memory that I had when I was 7 years old that I actually was paying attention to the Phillies, was the 80 World Series. So I'm going to use the seasons that I experienced in my life to drive my list. So number 5 on my list is the 2007 season, and especially September. The September to remember. I mean, how awesome was it that not only did they come out of nowhere in 07, but they found themselves, 7-8 games out of first place heading into September and took the Mets down and won the division on the final day of the season. Now, granted, they went into the playoffs and really didn't stand much of it, or didn't really put up much of a fight against Colorado, but still, the excitement of what that season was, it was a shot in the arm of Philadelphia baseball that was well overdue. Hadn't had much to cheer about leading up to that season, since 93. And what that did, and of course, what that did for the next 5 seasons is historical at this point. But that to me was one of the best seasons I can remember watching unfold and develop as we went through. And Jimmy Rollins making the claim in spring training that they would win the NL East. I mean, that's just like storybook stuff for me. So 07 is my number 5. My number 4 is 2022. Again, for a few different reasons. One, of course, again, coming out of in that mantra of coming out of nowhere, left dead in the water in June. 7-8 games under 500. Joe Girardi was flailing as a manager, and I'm a Joe Girardi guy. I still maintain I'm a Joe Girardi guy. I didn't want to see him get fired, but I knew something had to be done in that time to save the season because it wasn't working for whatever reason. Girardi wasn't getting through to them in 22. And they had so many, the addition of Harper and Realmuto, and then failing on their Kapler, getting to September at the end of Kapler's time and then just falling apart in September. And then building the roster in 22 to add Schwarber and Castellanos. You had a feeling heading into the season, and I did have this feeling that they were all in. They were certainly all in, and they needed to be a better team than they were in June. And then they fire Girardi. Thompson comes in for whatever, personal opinions I have Thompson now. That didn't exist in 22. But 22, Thompson came in, righted the ship, took him on this magical run. It was the first year of the Fighting's final. All those things kind of just clicked into place, and it was a magical Phillies year, and it spurred on another era of at least postseason baseball in Philadelphia since then. So 2022 is my number 4. My third best Philly season of all time, 08, World Series championship year. And it was one of the more challenging seasons that I had as a fan trying to watch, because I was in Iraq for the majority of the season. I was deployed in Iraq in 08 and trying to catch Phillies games on the Armed Forces Network at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was a little challenging at times, but I was able to keep track and keep pace of what was happening. And then, of course, tuned in for the playoffs because every game was on. But and then I celebrated the 08 World Series championship in my office at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and by myself. But I'll never forget that. It was one of the greatest moments of my life as a fan, winning the World Series in 08. Anytime you win the World Series, it's great. So 08's my number 3. My number 2 is the other World Series season. That's 80. Again, that was the season that enlightened me about what it was to be a Phillies fan. And I use this when I talk about my Philadelphia sports fandom in general. As a kid, you had the Eagles going to the Super Bowl in 81, right? You had the Phillies winning the World Series in 80. Eagles going in 81. The Flyers were only a few years off of back-to-back Stanley Cups. Sixers were a dominant team in the Eastern Conference of the NBA, and they would go on to win a world championship in 83. As a kid, when you're 7 years old and you're indoctrinated into that type of sports atmosphere, winning, you expect that's what it's supposed to be all the time. Of course, found out later on about the mid-'80s that that's not how it's supposed to be all the time. And, it became a crutch and pain for the rest of my time. But to be indoctrinated, because essentially that was part of my indoctrination into the Philadelphia sports culture, was the 80 World Series. And being able to participate and seeing as a 7-year-old Frankfurt and Kottman, at a World Series championship, and then the sea of people up there was just something I'll never be able to forget, replicate. And it galvanized me as a fan. It galvanized me as a Phillies fan. All the above things. So I mean, I got to give 80 as personal, my second best ever season ever. So Joe's got a question or a comment here. Old Shea Stadium was my favorite ballpark, and for minor league, it's the Iron Pigs in Reading. Yeah, I never was I ever Shea? No, I never went to Shea. And again, I challenge everybody out there, and Joe's right. We are privileged in the Philadelphia area. We live an hour away from pretty much all levels of our minor league system, with the exception of the Threshers. You can go to Lakewood, check out the Jersey Shore Blue Claws, right? Spend the day at the beach, then cruise over there and check out a baseball game at night. Drive an hour to Reading, or 45 minutes, whatever it is. Check out the Fightins. Drive an hour to Allentown, check out the Iron Pigs. You don't have to go to Phillies games. You don't. And I know it's challenging for a lot of people, to include me, to afford to go to a Phillies game. But when you go to these minor league games, you're going to a lot, and I want to be careful how I phrase the word cheaper. It's not a cheap experience, but it's cheaper on the wallet. And you get a better experience. Sal G was on the post-game show last night, and he took his son to see the Phantoms play up in Allentown last weekend. And you're looking at the Stars of tomorrow. You're looking at, in Sal's case, you're looking at a team that's in a playoff push too. So I am a firm believer in minor league professional sports, especially that are connected to your teams. And you have an opportunity, if you go to Lehigh Valley this year, you have an opportunity to see Justin Crawford. Go down to Reading, you have an opportunity to see Aiden Miller. You go to Lehigh, you see Gabriel Racones Jr. As soon as Painter starts moving up the system, he's probably going to go to Reading and Lehigh Valley. So you have an opportunity to see him. You have an opportunity to see all these future players who a little bit later on in the show, I'm going to talk about it. I really feel that this season is going to be heavily judged and decided by a player or players that are not currently on the roster. And I mean, I think the prospects are really going to come into play this year. And we'll talk about that later. But you have this opportunity to go up there and share in the experience of seeing these players before they become who they may become. So go ahead and check that stuff out. But let's get back to the list, because I'm going to grant you my number one all-time Philadelphia Phillies season of all time, 93. 1993. I know it ended in immeasurable pain with Joe Carter. I know. Oh, I know. But what that season meant for my generation of Phillies fans, and I was 20, so Gen X, middle part of Generation X, or maybe the upper part of Generation X. What that season meant for my generation of Phillies fans, to be a young adult, to witness something that literally came from nothing. Now, in 92, I remember the Phillies were a good team. They just were beset with injury. They couldn't keep anybody on the field. And I really thought if they would have stayed healthy in 92, they would have probably pushed the NL East. I don't know if they would have taken over Pittsburgh that year, but yeah, Pittsburgh was they were a machine in 92, but I don't know. It would have been a better season for them. And then in 93, to literally come out of absolutely nowhere and spend every single day of that season in first place. I was drawn in from the very beginning of the season. The season opened up in Houston. They beat the Astros in 3 straight. Came in back home to Chicago. You got the Fanatic parachuting into the vet on opening day. They take 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. They start the season, I believe it was 9-1 that year, and they were off and running from that point forward. And it was one of the most magical times of my life. I ended up breaking my leg at some point during the season in August. So I was bedridden for about 6 weeks towards the end, but it was fine by me because I was able to watch this playoff push occur. And another thing, going back to my sports burden that it is to be a sports fan, conversation that we had a few nights back. I was involved in a 1-car accident on the early morning hours of August 14th, 1993, where I fell asleep behind the wheel. And I ended up flipping over. I had this sweet-ass 89 Jeep Wrangler. It was nice. It was a nice car. But I ended up flipping it. I ended up falling asleep at the wheel. And I broke my leg because as the vehicle was flipping over, the top came off, and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. So I was thrown out of the vehicle. And as I was coming up out of it, my leg broke on the steering wheel. Anyway, I digress. When I think about that time, when I think back of those moments and what happened to me, you know, the one thing that sticks in my mind more than anything about that night in my life was that earlier that night, Kim Baptiste hit a walk-off grand slam home run in the 10th inning to beat the Mets. That's the one thing that sticks in my mind about that whole goddamn adventure. That Kim Baptiste hit a walk-off grand slam against the Mets in the 10th inning, or maybe the 11th inning. Again, there's something wrong with me, man. There's something not right with me. But 93 was just an amazing year. And obviously it ended with probably the most painful, gut-wrenching event to ever happen in my life, watching Joe Carter just... It was for those of you that didn't experience it firsthand, I didn't experience Black Friday firsthand, 77 NLCS against the Dodgers. So I hear people talk about Black Friday and how traumatic it was for them. And I guess it's probably the same thing when I talk about the 93 World Series to somebody who didn't actually watch it and see it live and experience everything live. How tumultuous that event was, watching Joe Carter, because not only did he end, the Blue Jays won the World Series, but he ended the ride, man. The season was done. Just like that, in an instant, in a flash, poof, gone. All that magic that started in Houston in April ended that night in Toronto with no rhyme, no reason, no notice, no 2 weeks, no nothing. Just boom, gone, done. You lost, move on. And there was a really strange sense of emptiness. Yeah, I was mad that we lost, but I was probably more mad that it was over, that the season was ended, that magical season was done. And I friggin' knew that they weren't going to recapture it in 94. I knew they weren't. A lot of things went right for them in 93. that probably shouldn't have, lightning in the bottle, so to speak. But boy, that's definitely my best season overall was 93. So number 5 was 07. Number 4 was 2022. Number 3, 2008. Number 2, 1980. And number 1 is the 1993 season. So wanted to give you guys my own personal MattyB's top 5 Philly seasons of all time. There's a statue outside of the Reading Phillies that they put extra tickets. Look at that I'm talking about. See, they give away tickets on a statue in Reading, man. Come on. Get your butts out to the minor leagues and enjoy minor league baseball so that you can come back here on this program, because we talk about prospects all the time here. We talk about draft picks, right? Come back here and we'll have some intelligent conversation about some of the future Phillies in 2025. And another thing for you sports card collectors, I'm telling you, listen to me. They give giveaways all the time at these events. They give minor league sports cards away. And you could run into an Andrew Painter Reading Fighting Phillies prospect card that could be worth $1,000 million in 10 years. I have a Mark Vientos, the phenom young rookie who kind of came out of nowhere last year with the Mets. I got his prospect card when he was with the Syracuse Mets. I got a Nikita Kucherov prospect card when he was with the Syracuse Crunch. That card's worth about $900 right now. So go there, enjoy these events, and revel in what they mean, and just have fun. Have fun there, because you're seeing the future. So big proponent of minor league baseball or minor league sports in general. I was there at 93 when Mitch Williams had the game-winning hit early in the morning. Oh, so that's the famous Mike Laura was at that game too. I watched it. I was not there, but again, that's another reason why that season was just so damn magical. All these things happened in it. So I'm telling you, when Joe Carter hit the home run, man, I was upset that they lost. Yeah, but I was more upset that the season was over. I honestly was more upset that the season was over. That I knew that would never ever happen again. That type of season would not happen again. Now, we've had seasons that were good since then, but nothing like 93. And again, I get it. We lost the World Series, but there was so much more going on during that year. And when they lost, yeah, I was mad, but boy, I was more mad that the season was done. But there you go. So that was 43 minutes of me telling you, or 44 minutes now of me telling you to get out and enjoy some baseball. And maybe we won't do that tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna put the Phillies stat review on the back burner. I was gonna go through some stats from 24 to 23, kind of try to paint a picture. But you know what? Let's not do that. Let's set 2025 on its own course, and let's hope. And it really does come down to hope and faith. 162 games. You can't lose the season in April. But you can, or I'm sorry, you can't win the season in April. I'm sorry, that's how it is. You can't win it in April, but you certainly can lose it in April. But or March and April. Let's keep things. I'm not going to say positive, but let's keep things in perspective. Take these games one at a time. Now, I know this is a lot of physician heal thyself type stuff, because I need to start listening to this as well. But it starts tomorrow, and it could not be more glorious. That the season begins tomorrow. So tomorrow, Phillies Nationals Park, Kenzie Gore, Zach Wheeler, and here at the old It's a Wrap Sports Network, we will be starting our 4th season of the Fighting's Final tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening, with me and Sal kicking off the season for you. Mike got you on Saturday, and then me and Al back on Sunday to give you the rubber match of the series between the Nationals, and then we'll get ready for the home opener against the Colorado Rockies, as they will get into town on Monday. Interesting way for the Phillies to start the season. Washington, Colorado, the Dodgers, and the Braves. Very interesting start to the Phillies season. I don't think we're talking much about that. No one's really discussing those first few games there. It's going to be a pretty telling start to the season for the Phillies. I do want to transition to hockey real quick, because I want to show you something that happened last night. This happened after the game during the press conference between John Tortorella and the assembled media. I want to play it for you because it concerns me for a couple reasons, and we'll get into why. So let's bring it up, and I'm going to play it for you. Check it out.
John, that team's known for its offense, but was it their defense that caused a lot of problems tonight? Because it seemed like they had things buttoned down pretty good and kept you guys from generating a whole lot.
They outplayed us.
York only plays the 3 minutes to start here. Is this something that you and the coaching staff want to use as a learning experience?
I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Do you think this is a game, John, where the team just needs to maybe simplify things against a team like the Leafs, get pucks to the net, bodies to the net to try to score?
It's my job to prepare this team in this type of situation. Haven't done a good enough job past couple of games.
The last 2 games, are you sensing frustration setting in? Maybe it's a cumulative effect from last week playing well and not getting results?
Well, when you're in this type of situation and you're losing all the time and there's nothing at the end of the tunnel for you, there's certainly going to be some frustration. But this falls on me. I'm not really interested in learning how to coach this type of season where we're at right now. But I have to do a better job. So this falls on me, getting the team prepared to play the proper way until we get to the end.
All right. John Tortorella, post-game Maple Leafs last night. Okay, what concerns me is the last bit there between him and Charlie O'Connor is when he said, I'm not interested in coaching at this point of the season and this type of hockey, essentially. That's concerning because I am probably the biggest John Tortorella proponent here. I don't want him fired. I don't think that I honestly can't tell you what kind of I can tell you. I think he's done a good job because I think he's brought talent out of players that I'm not sure that any other coach could have done it. Now, maybe they could, maybe they could. But to sit here and try to hang the Flyers' problems this season on John Tortorella is ignorance. It's straight up ignorance. It's not. It's somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Because this team, the Flyers, they're not a real team. They're not a whole team. They're a bunch of pieces. And I don't care if you're, as I said, was it Fred Shearer? You're not getting a championship caliber play out of these guys, right? And the skill level, the age, the experience level is, I thought he's done a pretty damn good job of trying to teach them what it's like to be not just a hockey player, but be a pro. And there's a lot more going on than just what's happening on the ice. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think John Tortorella's done a bad job, nor am I going to sit here and tell you that I think he should be fired. I don't think so. I don't think he's been evaluated properly yet, and I don't think he can be evaluated properly yet until the front office gives him the goddamn hockey team to evaluate. So, but the comments last night by saying I'm not interested in coaching this type of season, I don't know if he got his words twisted or if he was trying to mean something that didn't come out right. But I don't want to hear that about, that's the quitter type stuff coming out. That's the, please get me the hell out of here. That scares me because I don't want, if that's the case and he's starting to have that self-doubt about the team and he's starting to give up, then yeah, maybe it is time to move on from him for that purpose and that purpose alone, not because he's done a bad job. All right. I just want to be very clear. And I'm not advocating firing John Tortorella. I'm not. But you got to be very careful because when the leader, the number one, the uno, the head honcho, the big cheese, the guy that sits behind the bench and is supposed to be the voice of reason and is supposed to be the one who has all the answers. If he's saying, I'm not interested in coaching this type of hockey or this type of season, then you might have a bigger problem. And that's something that the Flyers might have to address heading into the offseason is John Tortorella checked out? Has he lost, patience? And if he has, I can certainly understand why. Certainly understand why. It's a long season. It's been a long 3 seasons of him here. And, but I you don't want to hear that as a player. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that as a general manager. And you certainly don't want to hear that as an owner, that your head coach is saying, I'm not interested in coaching this type of hockey or this type of season, because that contradicts just about everything that the Flyers are trying to work for and be, gearing towards. So, but I get the frustration, man. I honestly do. He knows these guys are better than that. And he knows that they play better than that. And he also understands the big picture, that he just doesn't have any horses in the barn. This is a sport, hockey, and all professional sports. They're played by alpha males. All right, alpha males. And in the professional MLB, NHL, NFL, NBA levels, they're played by the 1% of the 1 friggin' percent, the best of the best. And alpha male, best of the best, professional athlete, it's a perfect storm. There's a lot of emotions and feelings. A lot of that stuff gets to where it is. And I get the frustration, man, but you got to take that out in private. You got to talk to your inner circle about stuff like that. You can't say those types of things to the media, because obviously in this town, we're going to run with that and create all kinds of narratives about it. But it's concerning because would I be upset if they fired John Tortorella at the end of the year? No, I wouldn't be upset, right? But would I be upset if they did fire him? No. Or didn't fire him? No, I'm sorry. I wouldn't be upset if they did, and I would not be upset if they didn't. Because I still think he's the right guy for this job, because I don't think the job is not even halfway done yet. I harken back to Brett Brown all the time about all the years that we toiled and let Brett Brown go through the process, knowing what was at the end of the tunnel. But I don't think Brett Brown ever kind of lost it like that. So that's concerning, and I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward into the rest of the season and into the postseason, depending on what the Flyers want to do here. But that is definitely something. If I was Danny B, come on in, John. We got to talk about that, because that might be a window into something bigger that needs to be addressed by the Flyers, and we could be looking for a head coach this offseason. So very concerning comments coming from the head coach last night in the loss. He's a good coach, and the players need to play better and harder for him. Now, Joe, he is a good coach. I don't think it's that, Joe. I think the players have been playing harder for him. I think they've been giving him everything that they can possibly give him. They're just not that good. I hate to say that. I hate to kind of go right to that point, but I think it's as simple as that. They're just not that good. And you know who one of the more concerning players for me this season has been? It's been friggin' Owen Tippett. They gave him that big contract. He's had a terrible year. Can't hit the net for a damn. His goal scoring's way down. We just don't have good talent. We don't have high quality NHL talent. We got role players that could definitely fill in needs of certain teams, but we don't have a core foundation of players to build around. And that's not Tortorella's fault. All right. He didn't set this thing in motion. He didn't. That's the GMs that preceded him and Danny B's fault, right? I mean, it really is, because they're going down a certain way, and this is what Danny B wants. So, but I get it, man. No one wants to lose, and no one wants to get embarrassed. No one wants any of that. And right now, it's all that is happening to the Flyers. They're losing and they're getting embarrassed at the same time, and they're sinking like a stone. And yes, I know the prize at the end of this is another top 3 or 4 draft pick, but what at one point, man, we got to turn a corner. At one point, we got to stop the bleeding and start putting bandages on this thing. I didn't say band-aids, bandages. There's difference there, but I think there's something that definitely needs to be looked into on that. And I don't know. I don't like hearing that from a coach. I don't, even though it is very frustrating. Coots has been struggling since he came back from the injury. Coots, again, another bad contract, another player that we're stuck with, and we shouldn't be. It's a bad situation, Joe. And then we've gone over this Flyer situation on this program lots of times, and you know that. You've been here for most of it. And it doesn't look that promising, especially in the AHL. I know they're in the playoff picture, but let's face it, they're AHL players. But and we talked about last night some of the prospects that are on their way, some of the other prospects, and then another reason why to go check out the Phantoms, you get to go see Jet Luchenko and Alex Chernik play. But there's some prospects from the lower levels that are starting to move their way down. Things are going to turn. It's just a matter of when and who's left to enjoy that. But I wanted to give you my little hockey point. But all right, let's get to the of the night segment of the program. Yep. The other night segment tonight, we're going back 3 for 3 tonight. No, I'm sorry, we're doing 2 for 3, not 3 for 3. That's right. We finished the Philly Spotlight player. So we're going to center in on the Phillies prospects and your MLB draft tonight as we check off another block, man. No more Philly Spotlight players until next year. Wow. I put a lot of work into that thing, man. That's a lot of work to do, but we'll reference those slides as we move through the season, or those player cards as we move through the season. But it's good to be done with them. I finished the Flyers prospect a few weeks back, so we're moving right through, and let's do some Philly prospect tonight. Seth Johnson, the pitcher acquired in the Greg Soto trade last summer at the trade deadline. Johnson did make a little bit of a late September appearance as we were going through the fifth starter carousel there last year, as he was brought up. He pitched okay. I didn't pitch really that good, but definitely promising. Had a very good spring. Johnson's 98 combined innings and all stops in 2024 was a career high, and he started to regain sharpness in his four-pitch mix. He can run his fastball up to 98, averaging 94.6 in the minors last year, according to Synergy, with good life up in the zone. He can miss a lot of bats with his mid-80s slider, but there's still room to improve the pitch, and he's worked on different grips to help tighten it up. He doesn't throw his curve as much, mostly against lefties, but he can steal a strike with it, and he has changeup, though it's his fourth pitch. So Seth Johnson could be one of those players that I talked about in reference to a little bit earlier, and I'll get to it right now. I do believe that this season, the outcome of the Philly season this year is going to rest decisively on the shoulders of a player or players that is currently not on the team. And I mean a prospect player, a Justin Crawford, a Painter, maybe Seth Johnson, maybe Racones Jr., maybe Aiden Miller. I don't know, but I still think that there's a lot of the Phillies story. Of course, there's a whole bunch of the Phillies 2025 story that hasn't been written yet. And I think before it's all said and done with, we're going to be talking about one of the or two of these kids as major contributors to this team. Now, Seth Johnson is one of those MLB ready type pitchers. As we were all scratching our heads why Taijuan Walker was given the fifth job or given the role as the fifth starter. That is for what it is, and you know why that is, because they're paying them big ass money, and they're not gonna use them. They're going to use them if they have to. So, but Seth Johnson could be in the mix here very early on if Taijuan Walker fails. He could be the first alternative to Taijuan Walker if Walker can't get out of his own way after 2 or 3 starts. So Johnson's going to be hanging down there in AAA and potentially getting an opportunity. And I definitely think he'll get another opportunity at some point this season to pitch again as we try to straighten out that fifth starter role. But Seth Johnson was brought over here last year from the Orioles in the Greg Soto trade. Promising young arm. He replenishes some of the younger pitchers that we lost last year with the trades to the Angels. Him and Moises Chase were 2 of the pitchers that were brought here to replace the pitchers we lost to the Angels. So there you go. Your Phillies prospect of the night, Seth Johnson. And that will take me to my MLB draft prospect of the night, and that is your outfielder from the University of Arizona, Brendan Summerhill. Summerhill is one of the sweetest lefty swings in the draft, not to mention advanced bat-to-ball skills that translated into a 324, 399, 550 slash with 8 homers in the spring and an all-star summer in the Cape Cod League. Checking all the blocks there when it comes to high-level developmental baseball. If he can add some strength and maintain the solid to plus speed, he could be a 2020 center fielder. So Brendan Summerhill, again, as I've kind of gone over this already, we are at the bottom end of the draft projections of the first round, but that is so relative when it comes to college baseball or baseball draft. I shouldn't say college baseball, but the baseball draft. A player like Brendan Summerhill could be the 28th prospect right now, and then come draft night, he's the first taken. It all depends on season surges. Of course, the college baseball season is just starting, and these players are starting to kind of wind into their own. Injuries occur, all those things happen. So, but right now, heading into the season, Brendan Summerhill's lower first round prospect, and that's what I think he is. He is right now still. But I will, of course, as the spring progresses and as the college baseball season and as the high school baseball season progresses, I will continuously look back on these players and sort of reassess them. But right now, I see Brendan Summerhill as a project player. They're all projects, but a lower first round selection, potentially at 26 where the Phillies are picking. I don't know, but I think he'd be available down there. Do the Phillies go center field? Probably not, but he's there, and maybe he's a day two. I don't know, but Brendan Summerhill tonight is your 2025 college or 2025 MLB draft prospect. So there you go. Another of the night complete. The Flyers signed the prospect that you mentioned late last night, the defender. Which one? There was a couple of them. Mato Man, Brian Zanetti. Which one? Do you remember his name? I didn't see that, Joe. Joe's on board, man. Joe's on it, man. Joe's fact checking me, man. He's following up on me. I appreciate that. I do. I do appreciate that, Joe. We talked about a bunch of them last night. Now, are you talking about one of the ones that has to be signed this year, or he's like a free agent? One of those four? That would have been Mato Man as one of the defenders. Zanetti was one of them. Was it Cole Sutherland? No, he wasn't a defender. He's a right winger. Zanetti, I think he was a defenseman, wasn't he? Tell me who it was, Joe. Now you got me all curious. All right. So there you go. That was your other night segment. And that leads me to the best part of the day. The best part of the day. Yep. That is MattyB's card review segment, the part of the night where we take one of my sports cards from my vast collection, my millions of cards. I don't have millions of them, but my vast collection, and we just have some fun with talking about it, ripping it up, not physically ripping it up. I would never rip up a card unless, of course, it was completely damaged beyond recognition, because I don't want anybody else to try to restore it. But I would never rip up a card in any other circumstance other than that. But the best part of the night. So let's get it going. We've been on the baseball kick in honor of the start of the season, and I'm going to stay on that. And then one of the more dominant pitchers of my youth and my young adulthood had all kinds of off-the-field problems, as it turned out, but he still was a dominant pitcher, and that would be your Mr. Dwight Gooden. This is before he was called Doc. This is when he was still going by the name Dwight, the 1991 Dunross version of Dwight Gooden. Again, what can I say about Gooden? You know, we dealt with him as Phillies fans throughout most of the good part of his career. Played for the Mets for 11 seasons, 84 through 94. Then he also had stops in the Yankees, the Indians, the Astros, the Rays, and the Yankees. He was actually on 3 different teams in the year 2000 before he retired. 4-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion. He won the Cy Young Award in 85. He was a Triple Crown winner in 85, NL Rookie of the Year in 84, Silver Slugger Award as a pitcher in 92. MLB wins leader in 85, 2-time MLB strikeout leader 84 and 85. Pitched no-hitter on May 14th, 96. The Mets have retired his number 16, and he is in the New York Met Hall of Fame. Don't know if he's Cooperstown bound. All time, he was 194, 112 with a 3.51 ERA. That's probably inflated towards the end because of the end of his career, but 2,293 strikeouts all time as well. But definitely, as my youth, was one of the more dominant pitchers and more colorful pitchers, as he was involved in all kinds of off-the-field issues involving cocaine. Started a riot down in Tampa in 1987, or his arrest did, I should say. But definitely a colorful player. The infamous fight between him and Keith Hernandez, or was that Darryl Strawberry? I can't even keep it straight. But that Mets team, there were some colorful characters on those mid-'80s Mets teams. Of course, the 86 team that won the World Series. But definitely a pitcher from my youth that is well documented and well known. And, you know, as I said, retired number by the Mets. He's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's got the cash to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Obviously, his eligibility is over with. He had to be voted in by the Veterans Committee at this point. But that's interesting that he's never gotten in. Keep an eye on that. But there you go. The 91 Dwight Gooden from Dunross. Been on a Dunross kick over the last few nights. I think this is the third straight Dunross 91. No, Schmitz was 89. But this is, I think, the third straight Dunross card we've done. But on most databases, you find this card at about $5. Yeah, about $5. His card carries a little bit more value as a PSA 10. I think I saw a PSA 10 graded version of this card for about $40. but for the most part, about a $5 to $10 card. And it's a good card. I don't like the design of the 91 Dunross. I think it's kind of cheesy and generic, but it captures some great players in some great eras. So there you have it. The 91 Dwight Gooden. Here it is in its physical form. I got a pretty clean version of it. Sharp corners, no real major manufacturer errors, nothing really. So I probably, if I got this graded, probably grade out to about 8.5. They changed the grading system at PSA, made it a lot harder. So I don't know. It might be like an 8.5, 9. Who knows? But maybe I'm sitting on about a $10 card. I believe it's listed on eBay for about $10. But there you go. Your card of the night, the 91 Dwight Gooden from Dunross. So, you say signed Ty Murchison, the kid from Arizona State. So he, who was actually it's interesting. They signed him already. He had to August to sign, but yeah. So he's coming to Philly. That's cool. 4-year starter, 4-year. I don't know what he was, what line he was on, but I think he was assistant captain for the Sun Devils. It's interesting, Joe. Good job, man. Thank you. Joe Hale reports that one of the 4 prospects that I talked about last night that the Flyers had to make a decision with this year because they were done with their eligibility and they weren't signed yet. Ty Murchison is signed with the Flyers. So more years of reporting about Ty Murchison. I can't wait. All right. Thanks, Joe. Honestly. That's going to take me to the end of the program tonight, folks. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is our last final word of the week. Tomorrow, I will be on double post-game duty. So no final word tomorrow. I'll be back on Sunday after I do post-game duty that day. But because it's an afternoon game and my show's at night, we'll do that. But so I'll be back on Sunday. But the next time we talk, we will have 3 Phillies games in the books, barring any weather issues. And we'll have a lot more to talk about and probably complain about, too. So, looking forward to it. Obviously, looking forward to tomorrow. The opening day of the Major League Baseball season has officially come upon us. Go out and enjoy it. If you're not able to get to a game tomorrow, and the minor leagues, I believe, start on the 1st. Next Tuesday is when minor league baseball begins. So you're not going to be able to catch minor league baseball unless you're in the South Florida area. But remember, we start a marathon tomorrow, but almost a sprint, but a marathon tomorrow. That's going to take us through a lot of twists and turns and a lot of ups and downs. And we are here for you throughout every step of that journey here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network with the Season 4 debut of the Fightins Final. We will cover every single Phillies game from here until the final pitch of the 2025 season, whenever that is. So we will be here. We'll be here at 2 o'clock in the morning when they're in San Diego. We'll be here at 4 o'clock in the morning when they're in San Francisco, which I don't know why they'd ever be playing at 4 a.m. We'll be here. And we'll be here on July 4th. We'll be here on Memorial Day. We'll be here on Labor Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day. We'll be here for it all. And please make us your Phillies post-game destination for the 2025 season. It's a heady responsibility we take very seriously here on the network. Every one of these individuals that you're looking at is a Fightins Final veteran. They know the seriousness of this show. They know the people out there depend on the frequency of them being there. And they all embrace it, and we are going to have a great 4th season. We cannot wait to get it kicked off tomorrow against the Nationals. So all the other great stuff here on the program. Again, the Attacking Third will debut next Thursday at 9. The Wraparound Sal G moving to Wednesdays now at 6 p.m. with the special semi-permanent guest host, Pat Bernard, as he will take the Wraparound Sal G for the little near-term future until we make a decision about what we're going to do with the show long-term. And then starting on Sunday, again, no show tomorrow night, but typically Sunday through Thursdays at 10 p.m. My program, The Final Word with MattyB. And we have one more special big-time announcement coming, but I'm not going to say anything about it yet because we're still kind of – it's a go. We're strategizing on how to get it out there. But we have another show coming, and that'll be debuting in early May. So or not debuting, re-debuting, I should say. So be on the lookout for that, and more information with that will follow. So we're excited here. Joe says he can't wait for the Fightins Final. Joe, we can't either. It's almost like when we're not doing it, or when I'm not doing it, when the guys aren't doing it, it's like we're missing a leg or something. It's such a big part of us here on the network. It's a big part of what this network is all about. It's about being with you throughout the ride. It's about taking you on the ride with us. It's about us enjoying the ride together. It's about traveling this road, which is the magical Major League Baseball season. And it's going to start in cold weather. And hopefully for the Phillies' sake, it ends in cold weather. And in between, we're going to get into some hot, rainy, windy, all kinds of element issues. And it's just a magical time of the year. And it all starts tomorrow. And it all starts here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. So until we talk again tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow early evening with the Titans final, you guys have a great rest of your day or rest of your night and an even better tomorrow. We have made it. The start of the baseball season is upon us. Go Phils.